I live right across from a mile-wide park, which is healing and peaceful by day, but quickly turns terrifying by night. I once asked a coworker to walk me home after a late night out, and he didn't even make it to my door. He walked me partway there and sprinted home before I could even put in my key. He may have been over 6 feet tall when a street light went out right above us. My safety was the least of his worries. In his defense, I've been scared by a street light going out on me late at night too. The darkness of the park really knows how to stir your imagination in those moments, and my neighborhood is surprisingly unsafe for a suburban family area. There have been multiple attempted kidnappings a few streets from mine, and really creepy stories that happened to my very own friends. And you want to know the weirdest part? All those things, they happen in broad daylight. Whether I'm walking down my street at noon with the sun beating down on me, or at midnight with a couple street lights illuminating my path, the chances I have of being harmed remain about the same. The fact is, increased lighting doesn't mean reduced crime. The lamp poles on my street are fairly standard. There may be 20 meters apart, stand over half my building's height, and look very orange. They don't light up the ground that well, and there's some shadows in the middle between the poles. But you may also notice I mentioned these lamps are about half my building's height, and their light is still directly hitting my lens as I'm filming from my 4th floor balcony. This means 2 things. 1, I was too scared to go film this segment in the street, but it also serves as a segue into my next point. Most lights like these are blinding. These lights actually reach inside my room, and from here you can see these lines coming out of all of each side, kind of like the sun in a kid's drawing with the rays all around it. Light travels in a straight line in every direction from its source, which means when you have a light bulb like this out in the open, rays go out all around it. You get more rays spread out into a larger radius, but it ends up being less bright. When you wrap your light bulb in an opaque material like metal, then the rays hit the surface and bounce back right into where you want to direct it, which means more rays hit the same spot in a smaller, much brighter radius. This is a very simplified explanation of illuminance, how much lights hits a specific surface. To light up the street better for the times I'm walking at night, we would need to put more street lights like the ones we already have. More light would hit the ground and show me where I'm going, but a lot more of it would also be assaulting my eyes when I'm trying to sleep. With fully shielded lights, my street could be lit up even better with less lampposts and no stray light reaching me in my bed. Adding more light is a natural response to make us feel safer. Less light could mean more car accidents if drivers can't detect hazards in their way. It could mean less people want to risk passing there, meaning less foot traffic, therefore less eyes on the street, which wouldn't deter potential criminals as much. But as much as it is a natural response, it turns out it's not the most logical. There was a study published in 2015 that looked at police records from England and Wales over 13 years and found there was no association between lower street lighting and higher road collisions or crime. Fully shielded, warmer colored, strategically positioned lights are what makes spaces feel safer. And beyond that, they make them actually safer. Put 2 people facing each other, one inside their house and the other one in their yard. If lights are on both in and outside the house, both people can see each other. If lights are on in one space but not the other, only the person within the lit space can be seen and whoever's outside of it cannot. Our eyes adjust differently to light and darkness so they can see shapes and color. It's all in our pupils constricting or dilating. You can see in this clip how even my camera takes a couple seconds to see in the dark after adjusting to the light from the lamp. When you're within light but surrounded by darkness, it makes you visible to anyone outside that radius who might wish you harm while making them undetectable to you. This makes lower, consistent lighting directed onto the ground and not in our eyes the safest option. And it's the best option. In recent years, there's been an industrial switch to LEDs because they're more cost efficient. They produce more light for less energy, are cheaper to make, and last years longer than their counterparts. They're the headlights that flashbang you when you drive at night, and when this happens, it's also called glare. All unshielded light can do this to us, but LEDs do it worse. They emit bright blue light that our eyes are more sensitive to. Prolonged exposure to any light at night isn't ideal. Light tells our bodies it's time to be awake, and darkness tells us it's time to sleep. In our circadian rhythm, our body's natural 24-hour wake-sleep cycle, melatonin is the hormone responsible for sleep. It makes you eepy. That's why they put it in sleeping gummies. Light suppresses our melatonin production, which is why we need it during the day and should stay away from it as much as we can at night. More light at night means less melatonin, which makes you sleep less and more poorly. But melatonin is also an antioxidant. It protects you from cell damage. Essentially, it's healing. Your body needs good restorative sleep after your day to do well. So when you don't get that good melatonin, it can't. More light at night, so less melatonin, is linked to fatigue, headaches, obesity, anxiety, but also cancer and possibly Alzheimer's disease. The blue light LEDs make suppresses our melatonin 5 times more than conventional street lighting. And it's not just in the streets. It's in our homes, in our phones, in our TVs. It's everywhere. Your best bet is to stay away from light altogether when night comes. But in our era of technological necessity, that's not achievable. What you should do, however, is to turn on that warm light option on all of your devices and make sure your home lights are that warmer orange color. That's what has the least impact on our health. When you buy light bulbs, make sure you check the label for 3000 K and below. That stands for Kelvin. It's how we measure color temperature. And yeah, I do mean actual temperature. Light is energy, which moves in waves. The bigger the movements, the cooler it feels. Ironically, this is the wavelengths our eyes perceives as warmer colors, and the smaller the movements, the warmer it is, and vice versa. So as you go up the Kelvin scale, the warmer your light bulb will get, like stars. Our sun is orange because it's cooler than other stars, and the cooler a star looks, the warmer it actually is. On an astronomically smaller scale, all that wasted light our unshielded LEDs emit also releases tons of heat alongside it into our atmosphere. And similarly to how light at night impacts our health by telling our hormones to go bye-bye, it also has an impact on the other species we cohabit with. So much light at night is a new thing, dating back about 200 years. All species, including us, have evolved without it as long as we've been here, around 20 million times longer. So biology is quite literally built around us not having light at night. Birds use light to migrate. When they see big city lights, they get confused and lost, and without energy, bump into windows and die. They don't just do that because they're stupid. Yeah, they do that because we tricked their whole biology. Justice for the birds. Sea turtles hatch on shores at night. Their hatchlings use the moonlight reflected by the sea to find their way home. Bright city lights confuse them. They mistake it for the sea, and so they get lost and die. Turns out plastic straws aren't the only human invention killing the turtles. These deaths pile up in the millions every year, all because of our poor use of light. About 35% of all outdoor lighting just in the US is wasted, mainly because of unshielded lights. That's over $3 billion down the clog and 20 million tons of CO2 released into our atmosphere. I don't even know what those numbers would look like worldwide. I remember twice in my life when I looked at the night sky and saw more than dark and a couple dozen white dots. When I was young and went camping with my family, I looked up and started counting stars before quickly giving up as I realized that there were far too many. A few summers later, during a meteorite shower, I cuddled up on a chair by the beach with my mom, just talking and counting shooting stars. To this day, I remember the peace and sense of existential wonder I felt in those two moments. The fact that the entire universe is right within view of all of us and 80% of all humans can't see the Milky Way isn't lost on me. In the United States, that number shoots up to 99%. And I assume it's pretty similar for most countries on this map of the night sky. Light travels really far as long as it's not obstructed, and we're directing it to our sky instead of our ground. It takes at the very least 50 kilometers of distance between you and city lights to get a decent stargazing view. Light doesn't just drop off into darkness as soon as it reaches city limits. You know what depresses me the most with this? Since 200 years ago, we are the first generations who can't see the Milky Way. On the whole timeline of life on Earth, we who can't see the Milky Way represent a measly, astronomically tiny percentage. The dinosaurs could see the meteor coming from far away, they just couldn't do anything about it. We can see meteors coming from literal light years further away, and we can react in time, but the sky glow we created keeps us from really seeing. But even with all the genuine harm light pollution causes, I just really want to see the Milky Way. There's something about knowing it's right within reach and we are the ones keeping it from ourselves that irks me. And the worst part is, light pollution is the easiest type of pollution to fix, which is also the best part. Ending light pollution starts with you and me. Opt for warmer lights indoors. Close your blinds, anything to cover your windows at night so light doesn't bleed right through. Use outdoor lighting only where you need it. Use fully shielded lights. Point them to the ground. Use timers and motion sensors. But we also need to do this on a bigger scale. We need buildings to turn lights off at night when they're vacant. We need cities to put in fully shielded street lights that point to the ground. You and I may have no control over the decision-making of CEOs, but we can sure as hell do something about it. Get involved with local organizations that fight light pollution. You can check out the Dark Sky website. They help point you in the right direction. Talk to your representatives. Push for legislation that will make our streets actually safe and save us energy, money, and keep our sky dark. You have a right to defend your civil interests and those of your fellow citizens. Use it. Do it for yourself, for your health, for your safety, because then it can extend to all of us. And if that much still sounds like too much work for you, just spread the word. The main problem keeping us from ending light pollution isn't some big bad intentionally keeping our lights manufactured and placed wrong. It's ignorance. People don't know the impact our bad lighting has on us because it's the way things have always been. It's not a lack of will. It's a lack of education. So many of us don't know we could see the Milky Way right from our homes if we did things right. And so few of us know how easy it actually is for us to make things right. So if I can't convince you to do anything else, let it be to share this video. Just do that, and maybe one day we'll get to see the Milky Way.